This meeting to order. This is meeting number 4 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration. With the ongoing pandemic situation and in light of the recommendations from health authorities as well as the directive of the Board of Internal Economy on October 19, 2021 to remain healthy and safe. All those attending the meeting in person are to maintain 2-meter physical distancing, must wear a non-medical mask when circulating in the room, and it is highly recommended that the mask be worn at all times, including when seated. Must maintain proper hand hygiene by using the provided hand sanitizers at the room entrance. As the chair, I will be enforcing these measures for the duration of the meeting, and I want to thank members in advance for their cooperation. To ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few rules to follow. Members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either Floor, English, or French. If interpretation is lost, please inform immediately and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. For members participating in person, proceed as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person in committee room. Keep in mind the Board of Internal Economy's guideline for mask use and health protocols. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize your name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your microphones will be controlled as normal by the proceedings and the verification officer. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on the mute. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed through the chair. With regard to speaking list, the committee clerk and I will do the best to maintain a consolidated order of speaking for all members, whether they are participating virtually or in person. So we are having some issues with both the witnesses for this first panel. So the technical team is working with both the witnesses. I just want you to take few minutes in regards to some committee business and ask members' approval. As you know, that the minister will be coming and appearing before the committee in regards to the study we are going through on February 17th. So I just want the direction from the committee if they are in the, they would like to finish the study on that day. I will read the motion which was approved by the committee. The motion said that to have 5 meetings. So as yet we had one panel on February 1st, 2022, and 2 panels have been scheduled, have been done for February 3rd, February 8th, February 10th, and February 17th. So this brings us to 4.5, 4 full meetings and 1 meeting of 1 hour. So I just want to seek members that if you want to have an additional panel on March 1st, or the members are in the favor of completing this study on February 17th. So the motion which we passed was for 5 meetings. We have had 4 full meetings by 17th after the minister's appearance, and 1 additional panel because in the first meeting we had first hour for the committee business. So I would like to see which way the members would like to go. If you want to add an additional panel to make it 4 or 5 complete meetings, we can schedule it for March 1st, and then we can work around the witnesses. Yes, Mr. Brunel de Sepp.
Ouais, ben moi, je m'en
I believe these 5 meetings total, 10 hours of meetings. So in 1 extra hour on March the 1st to arrive at the 10 hours of study. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
Mr. Seaback?
Madam Chair, I'm confused. Are you saying that the minister is coming on the 17th as part of this study? I thought the minister was coming on the 17th for backlogs. And if he's not coming on the 17th for backlogs, then when is the minister coming for backlogs?
Can I ask, Madam Clerk, if you can clarify, like in regards to the minister's appearances for the 2 meetings?
Yes, I can. He is confirmed for the 15th on backlogs and the 17th for this study.
So Mr. Seabeck, he's coming on 15th for the backlogs, and 17th is the panel we will have with him on the foreign students acceptance.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Redekop?
Thank you. Given the technical difficulties that we seem to be having, it looks like we're probably not going to get much of any of this panel today. And so I would suggest that maybe we reschedule this panel for another time. Given that, I suppose you could put the other half together along with this one to make another meeting. Just a thought.
Okay. That seems good, reasonable. Mr. Brunel Dessap.
Oui.
Yes. This, it seems that we can put this back to March the 1st and have a complete session on March the 1st, a 2-hour session on March the 1st with this panel. So it would mean that we've lost an hour. No, wait. Yes? The idea is to have 10 hours of study. If it works with March the 1st, we do 2 hours. And then today, if we only do 1 hour, I think that brings us to 10 hours. But I haven't calculated this in a while.
Yes, you are correct, Mr. Brunel Dessap. So if this panel doesn't happen because of technical difficulties, because both the witnesses who are scheduled for this hour are not able to log in, and we would not be able to hear from them.
Madam Chair, we have both now.
Okay, we have both. Ms. Kwan.
I'm going to I'm going to pass. Thanks.
Okay, so like based on the discussion which the members are saying that like it seems that they would like to have an additional 1 hour of meeting for March 1st. So if we can have this panel, then we can like work around the calendar and add that 1 hour of meeting. Maybe we can have 1 hour of meeting and then add drafting instructions for this study to that. So we will schedule that, and then I will work with the clerk to work on the witness list. So, Madame Lalonde.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I just want to understand maybe from the clerk the calendar going forward. So, are we saying to our witnesses currently that they will not speak today and they will come back on March 1st if we're adding? Or are we welcoming our witnesses that seems to have resolved technical difficulties and possibly taking the other hour of individuals who are scheduled for the second hours to come back further? I just want to understand the clarification.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lalonde. I think now, because earlier when we started talking about this, both the witnesses were not able to log in. Now we have both the witnesses. I think we should hear from them and have this panel, and then we will have one additional panel for March 1st. So I think we can like discuss the other committee business in the other meeting. Already we have lost 20 minutes, so I would request that we start the meeting now, and then we can work around the calendar. So I will try to adjust this panel and the second panel so that we can be fair with the witnesses for both the panels and start. Mr. Brunel Dessap.
Okay, parfait, sauf qu'à ce moment-là.
Great, but the time that we've just lost in committee business and a technical issue, are we going to get this time back, this 20 minutes?
J'avais 20 minutes là, est-ce qu'on va le rajouter?
Are we going to add this 20 minutes so that we have an hour with our witnesses?
I will try to adjust the time, and I will check with I will start, and then meanwhile I will check with the clerk if we have the interpretation and the room services available after 1 p.m. So I will adjust it accordingly. So I would like to begin the meeting. Today, the committee is continuing its study on the recruitment and acceptance rates of foreign students. It is my pleasure to welcome both our witnesses appearing before the committee today. I would like to welcome Dr. Christian, President, African Scholars Initiative, and also His Excellency Dr. Khalilur Rahman, High Commissioner of People's Republic of Bangladesh, High Commission for the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Welcome to both of you, and sorry for those technical difficulties. Both of you will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks, and then we will go into round of questioning. So I would start with Dr. Christian, President of African Scholars Initiative. You can please start. You will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Thank you, Dr. Christian.
We cannot hear you, Dr. Christian.
Dr. Christian, we cannot hear you. If you can please start.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. We'll start the clock. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and honorable members of this committee for the privilege to appear before you once again to discuss a very important issue relating to growing difficulty faced by foreign students from Africa to secure study visa to pursue education in Canada.
Point d'ordre, Madame la Présidente, j'ai pas d'interprétation, malheureusement.
No interpretation?
Interpretation is back.
Oh, c'est réglé, c'est réglé, c'est réglé.
Okay.
Merci. Il n'y a pas de problème.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. On November 30th, 2020, I appeared before another sitting of this committee and raised some concern with regards to high study visa refusal rate for applicants from Africa, especially at the Canadian Visa Office in Nairobi, Kenya. Madam Chair, I'm privileged to appear before this committee again 14 months later to report that things have changed, sadly, not for the better. In illustrating the difficulty or growing difficulty faced by African students to secure study visa to study in Canada, I'm going to use Nigeria as a case study. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. It is among the top 10 source countries for Canada study visa, specifically number 3 after China and India. It is the only African country on the top 10 list. It also has the lowest Canada study visa approval rate on that list. For example, Korea and Japan are on the top 10 list. At a point in time when Korea and Japan has 95 and 97% study visa approval rates, Nigeria had a dismal 11.8% study visa approval rate. For many years, scholars, academics of African descent in Canada, as well as stakeholders have sought answers or reasons for the high study visa refusal rate from Canadian visa offices in Africa. That answer seemed to emerge on October 2021 when the IRCC Anti-Racism Employee Focus Group report was released. That report noted, among others, 1, that racism in IRCC had impact on processing of immigration applications in certain countries. 2, widespread reference of African countries daily 30 by IRCC agents. 3, stereotyping of Nigerians as particularly corrupt and untrustworthy by IRCC agents. The report specifically noted additional financial document requirements for applicants from Nigeria as part of the discriminatory rules reflecting on racism in IRCC. This fact was evident in a recent federal court judicial review case relating to a study visa application from Nigeria. I refer the committee to the case of Irepen versus Canada, Citizenship and Immigration. Further evidence of the discriminatory policy relating to study visa application can be seen by comparing 2 IRCC study visa programs. Number 1, the Student Direct Stream, known as SDS, and a similar program known as the Nigerian Student Express, NSE. The financial requirement under the SDS requires the applicant to show they, I quote, have a guaranteed investment certificate of 10,000 Canadian dollars. Now compare these to the financial requirements under the Nigerian Student Express, which is a similar program by IRCC for study visa application in Nigeria. The applicant under the Nigerian Student Express is required to produce a bank statement showing the existence of, I quote, equivalent of 30,000 Canadian dollars for at least 6 months. So the applicant from Nigeria is required to show proof of fund 3 times more than that of the applicant from the SDS countries. And yet, when these applicants overcome this high burden of proof, most of the application or study visa application from Nigeria is still refused. Madam Chair, I recommend the IRCC Anti-Racism Focus Group reports to this committee, and I have submitted as my exhibit to the committee both the final copy as well as the draft copy of this report. That study will greatly help or assist this committee in contextualizing the real reason behind the high study visa refusal rate by IRCC visa offices in Africa. That reason, Madam Chair, is the elephant in the room. It is racism. I know my time is up, so I'm not gonna spend more time. I'm also gonna stop here and then welcome further question on the issue I have raised, as well as other issues such as the Chinook, as well and also the use of artificial intelligence technology by the IRCC visa offices and the impact these technologies are actually having on study visa application. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Christian, for your opening remarks. We will now proceed to His Excellency, Dr. Khalilur Rahman, the High Commissioner for the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Dr. Rahman, you have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. You can please begin. We can't hear you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Dadwal.
I think he can't hear because the message that I got from him is that he's there only as an observer.
Is it like Dr. Rahman, can you hear me? We are not able to hear you. Madam Clerk, was the sound check done with him?
Please suspend.
Okay, we will suspend the meeting for a minute and check with Mr. Rahman.
Hi, Commissioner, Your Excellency, if you could unplug your headphones and plug them back in, we'll.
High Commissioner, you will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Please start.
Other witnesses, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege and honor to be able to speak before you. I would be brief because I have shared my business case with you. So I'm sure you have some time to look at it. So I'll just highlight certain aspects of it. Now, I was listening to a colleague from Nigeria, Mr. Christian. I'm not, this is the first time I'm appearing before the committee. I would like to say only a few things that, Bangladesh has excellent relations with Canada. We have no problem whatsoever with this great country. This is, we are going to observe 50 years of our diplomatic relations this 14th February on the Valentine's Day. And we acknowledge Canada's contribution to our socio-economic development. Bangladesh has graduated as a middle-income country, and as you know, Bangladesh is now known as development miracle. Our GDP is over US dollar 409 billion, and currently Bangladesh is the 37th largest economy of the world, and we expect to be 24th largest economy by 2030. The cost of, the quality of life, the affordability, and the overall socio-economic development in the country we achieved, that has enabled our, young students to study abroad in a big numbers. And I'm very happy to inform you that Canada is the #1 destination for our Bangladeshi students. Every year, around 40 to 50,000 young students, they are eligible, qualified, and they have all the admission requirements from Canadian universities to come here to study. Unfortunately, for some reasons, I would just, describe them, that the rejection of student visa is huge. Since the visa center, Canadian Visa Center is not in Bangladesh, we really don't have the exact number, the rate, what Mr. Christian has informed us. We don't have the rate, but as far as we are aware, the number is very high, and that's why we have been working with our Canadian colleague to transfer the visa center to Dhaka. But the fact remains that compared to the applicants, compared to their eligibility, compared to the acceptance from Canadian universities, our students' visa approval rate is very low, and the number is not growing because of the systematic, I should say, obstacles. That's why I'm appearing before you for your kind consideration that Bangladesh is included in the student direct stream. As I have said, there are huge number of students who can afford this GIC of 10,000 Canadian dollar. Not only that, one good thing for us, we are very happy also to inform you that the parents in Bangladesh, they also think that Canada is the safest country in the world to send their children to study. That's why the number has overtaken UK and USA in recent years. But unfortunately, because of these systematic, restrictions or obstacles, they are unable to come to study here. And one thing I like to just, highlight that Canada has two main areas of support in our socio-economic development. That is women's economic empowerment and skills development for youth. And as I said, that 40 to 50,000 young students every year are willing and they can afford to study in countries like Canada. They are not able to come because of this issue. And most importantly, we are also very pleased to see that our women students are outsmarting their male counterparts in grade, in quality of education in Bangladesh. That's why the majority of these 40 to 50,000 students are women. So basically, Canada is not basically helping the women's economic empowerment, at least in this area. So we like Canada to open its doors so that these young, talented women, capable, young to study. So lastly, I just like to highlight the
Sorry
fact that
for interrupting, High Commissioner. Your time is up. You will get an opportunity to talk further in the round of questioning. And we will now proceed to our first round of questioning. We started a bit late, but I will make sure that we complete this first round of question of 6 minutes each. So we will start with Mr. Redekop. Mr. Redekop, you can begin. You have 6 minutes for your round of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I begin, I just want to confirm, are we going to add 20 minutes to this panel so that we have the full hour as we talked about?
We will have this first round of questioning to complete, and maybe we can go a few members have to leave. So I'll try to adjust both the panels so that we get an opportunity to hear from both the panels.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Redekop, if you can please start.
All right, Dr. Raman, thank you so much for being with us here today. Welcome to the committee, and thank you for your testimony. Last week, I asked some witnesses about the student direct stream acceptance rates, and specifically, I asked about how it related to some countries that they mentioned, Senegal and Morocco, which are both Francophone-speaking countries. But surprisingly, these experts didn't know a whole lot about SDS, and it was disappointing to me. But hopefully, your testimony today will help us to know more about it so that we can craft some strong recommendations in this area. Now, the ties between Saskatchewan and Bangladesh are very strong, as you know, and our post-secondary schools like the U of S and Sask Polytech really benefit from students coming from Bangladesh. So, Your Excellency, you are familiar with the economy of Saskatchewan and the trade that we do with Bangladesh. Can you please tell me the direct benefit that including Bangladesh in the student direct stream would have for my constituents in Saskatoon West?
Thank you. Can I respond to his question, Madam Chair?
Your Excellency, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable MP Baderigo, for your question. Yes, I think I'm very happy to inform you that Bangladesh has very good relation with Saskatchewan province, and the largest Canadian exports are from your provinces. Saskatchewan is a leading agri-food exporter in Canada, and Bangladesh is one of the provinces' top 10 markets in the world, with 2020 exports to the country alone valued US dollar 615 million, and for 22 it is already I think the same 605 million. About 200 Bangladeshi Canadians live in Saskatoon West, and they relate to Bangladesh. Their family, extended members, and neighbors who is well known about Saskatchewan and wants to come to Canada to study at ISAS. Bangladesh and Saskatchewan, they have agro-based economy. Saskatchewan can bring talents from Bangladesh, and they can contribute to the Canadian economy and trade. I know one person, Mr. Hassan Ahmed, who studied and is now working in Global Institute for Food Security. And fortunately, he was the person who was the bridge to conclude an MOU between GIFS and Bangladesh Agriculture Research Center that is on research collaboration. We are working in 5 thematic areas. So this kind of person if they have the opportunity to come to study, not only in Saskatchewan, in other Western provinces, which is also, agro-based, there are a lot of, agricultural products we also import from other provinces. So I think in the area of agriculture, in IT, if more students can come to Saskatchewan and other Western provinces, farthest provinces where our students wants to go, I think the Canadian economy can benefit a lot. So as Honorable MP, you have pointed out that Saskatchewan, Bangladesh students can contribute in a big way in the economy of Saskatchewan. Basically, the province is, I think, agro-based province, and we have a huge agricultural, sector, and this kind of student can contribute for both Saskatchewan and Bangladesh if they get the opportunity. It is not limited to Saskatchewan. I think it is applied to other provinces. And I think in the area of this healthcare, nursing, as I have already said, IT, if our students get opportunity, they can have the experience of Canadian education system and can contribute for both Canada and Bangladesh. And especially, once again, I like to focus that, that will help our women students a lot, because we really, our female students really, they feel safe in Canada to study. So that's why Honorable MP and other members of the committee, I like you all to seriously, kindly consider our request. And one thing I like to add, that we are from South Asia. Two of our brotherly countries, India and Pakistan, are already in the program, and Bangladesh belong to not only to subcontinent, also 3 countries belong to SAARC. We belong to Commonwealth, and Canada is a big promoter of Commonwealth countries. So this support will be very helpful for Bangladesh and for Canada, and that will strengthen the existing exchange relations between Bangladesh and Canada. And I think this
Dr.
year,
Raman,
that will be a big gift
Dr.
for us.
Raman, Dr. Raman, just one other question for you. I know that you've been trying to engage with the Government of Canada on this, and you've spoken. I understand that you've met with officials from Global Affairs Canada in 2020 and in 2021, and you also met with the Department of Immigration during this period. So can you comment on your conversations with the Canadian government, and if any movement has been made to include Bangladesh in the student direct stream?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because I have been talking to a number of policymakers, including Honorable Member of Parliament. In December, when I came, I have approached the Canadian Global Affairs with copy to Department of Immigration, and we have received a very positive response from them, saying that our request has been considered and they're examining the merit. And one thing, I should quote from a colleague from Global Affairs. He said that, this is something we can achieve easily, and by including Bangladesh in the SDS, that will start, the work between Bangladesh and Canada as during my time as High Commissioner. So the last letter we have received is in
sorry for interrupting.
November 21.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, High Commissioner. Your time is up. Please, before we go to the next member, just please make sure that you keep an eye, and I will try to give you warnings, like a 1-minute warning, a 30-second warning, and then like a red card to show that the time is up. So please keep an eye and watch for those cards. We will now go to our next member, Mr. Dhaliwal. Mr. Dhaliwal, you please go ahead. You have 6 minutes for your round of questioning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, recently I had the opportunity to meet with His Excellency Dr. Rahman. He brought in the SDS program, and particularly I would like to ask Dr. Rahman 2 things. How would it help the Bangladesh students if we move the office to Dhaka, and the other one is the SDS program?
Honorable MP, can you kindly repeat your question? Last part I could not hear.
How would you see it will help Bangladeshi students if we move the office to Dhaka?
I mean, yeah, that is a very good question. This is one thing, it is not only SDS, that will help Bangladesh and Canada in a big way. because we are now operating the Biman between Dhaka and Toronto direct flight. There is a joint working group on commercial relations between the two countries just set up. The last meeting was yesterday, the 7th meeting. So there will be a lot of mobility. And I think not only for SDS, this relocation of visa center from Singapore to Dhaka will be very helpful. At least we will come to know the reasons for the rejection of visa despite having all the qualities for the students to come. So I think in a big way, it will be a huge boost for the Bangladesh-Canada relations because we really don't know why a visa is rejected for a student who has been accepted, who can afford the cost, and who has met all the criteria for admission. Because unfortunately, it is never told us. I think the applicant never knew that why his or her application was rejected. So there is a lot of intransparency. I don't want to blame anybody. I think we can bring a lot of transparency by relocating the visa center from Singapore to Dhaka. And one thing I like to say that whenever we spoke with the Canadian because of cost efficiency, but keeping an office in Singapore is more costly than keeping it in Dhaka. And Dhaka has got all the facilities now. So Dhaka can be the ideal center for Canadian visa center. Because Bangladesh, has a population of 170 million, and there will be a lot of mobility with this direct Biman flight between the two countries. And I think our students will really have the information that why they are being rejected. We do not, bring the issue of discrimination. We have wonderful relation with Canada, and we find Canada is known in Bangladesh as a fair, as a very non-discriminatory country, safe country that is friendly, hospitable. So,
Madam Chair, my question to His Excellency will be, would the Bangladeshi students willing to relocate or study in smaller towns in Canada? Because I see there's a lot of demand and a lot of opportunities in small and rural communities in Canada.
Yes, this is one thing, because we have a group with students, they communicate with us. And as we have mentioned in our business case, the farthest provinces and also the western provinces, they are receiving less number of Bangladeshi students. And if Bangladesh is included in this stream, and our students will be willing to go to these farthest, provinces, and as well as Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, because we have a lot of also, very, flourishing energy sector. And Alberta is a province where, there are a lot of opportunities for collaboration in energy sector. So, Honorable MP, I can give you the guarantee that, our students, especially the female students who wants to pursue their career in healthcare services, including nursing, they'll be very pleased to go there, as, so that they can also work as, personal support worker.
Mr. Christian, you made a serious allegation that there is a discriminatory policy in IRCC. Could you tell us how the minister and the department should intervene to fix that situation?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the question. I just want to state that I'm not the one making the allegation. This is fact that was evident from a report that was funded by IRCC itself, which is the IRCC Anti-Racism Focus Group report. That report established the fact that there's racism in IRCC, and it cited examples. Nigeria is a country that was specifically cited as an example. I may also refer you to actually page 2 of the draft copy, not the final, the draft copy of the report. I served that as part of the exhibit to my submission. One question there was, is there racism at IRCC? And the simple answer given, throughout all group, the answer was a firm and clear yes. So I'm not actually the one making the allegation. It's actually the fact from IRCC own report. Yes, we have contacted the minister over this. We are a group of Nigerian professors in Canada, Canadian universities, about 30 of them wrote a letter to the IRCC minister last November, raising concern about the content of this report. What we got was a clear denial from the minister's office that was not the case, even though the report actually stated that was the case. I see my time is up, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Desaep. Mr. Brunel Desaep, you can go ahead. You will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses here for this study, this very important study that we hold dear. I'm going to go ahead quickly. I've had discussions with some immigration lawyers, and I was told that the burden of proof in providing, when the demand is made, that the burden of proof is higher to have chances of being accepted, specifically for documentation with regards to the financial abilities. And you spoke in your opening statements about this. So if you apply from the Philippines or Bangladesh, you'll need 6 months of bank statements. But for someone from Spain, for example, they have to provide a proof of financial resources. I'd like to hear you speak to this. Isn't this the evidence that we are facing systemic discrimination, a certain form of racism with regards to people asking for study permits? I'd like to hear you both speak, but Mr. Christian could lead, perhaps.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes, the issue of financial requirements and documentation, if I may also refer to the IRCC report, was actually one of the issues that was raised in terms of discriminatory treatment of applicants. In the case of SDS countries, all you just need to show is, here I have a GIC, guaranteed investment certificate of $10,000 to meet the financial requirements. In the case of the requirements under the Nigerian Student Express, you are required to show that you have $30,000 within a period of 6 months in 1 year bank statement. So even if you prove that I have $30,000 today in my account, you don't meet that requirement. That $30,000 have to sit in your account for a period of 6 months. In the case of GIC, SDS countries, you just need to produce a GIC statement, or maybe to make it easier, a check, certified check, $10,000, I have it to meet the requirement. Whereas the other person, you have to wait for 6 months, have that $30,000 in 6 month period over a 12-month time to show. That is clearly discriminatory. Asking one person to show $10,000 and asking another person to show $30,000, there is no justification for that. So what we're actually asking is at least have the requirement harmonized. And it's even bad or worse when the person that has the higher burden of proof still exceed that proof or meet that proof, and yet there is nothing to show for it in terms of approval rate. They are still having worse approval rate than even the other countries that have lower standard of proof when it comes to the financial requirements.
Mr. Brunel Desaep, you have 3 minutes.
Oui, Monsieur Raman, je ne sais pas si vous vouliez ajouter quelque chose.
Mr. Raman, I don't know if you have something to add with regards to this discrimination that we are facing here, and many students in Bangladesh who would like to study here are facing this discrimination.
Oh, vous êtes sur mute, Monsieur Raman.
You are on mute.
Mr. Rahman, we can't hear you. Okay, please
I
go ahead.
just heard it in French, but if I understood whatever I understood, because it was
Mr. Brunel Desaep, I've stopped the clock. If you can repeat your question.
No.
Oui, et là, je pense qu'on a un problème d'interprétation.
I think there might be an interpretation issue. He might not hear the interpretation. Mr. Christian, rather. When I think of the testimony we have before us, maybe you're not able to answer, but you do represent an association, an African association. One way or the other, we believe that there is discrimination from Francophone Africans asking for permits, and we realize this where there's a high refusal rate from some West African countries If I think of the Ivory Coast, Cameroon, the Senegal, so our resources and treatment centers also be responsible for this discrimination, or processing centers rather.
Thank you, Honorable Member. There are many problems responsible for the low approval rate. Some of the problem may be attributed to resources. For example, most of these countries that have low approval rates, the study permit applications are not processed in those countries. They are processed in other countries. So IRCC, of course, has attributed that to resources. If this study permit application can be processed in the source country, individuals in those countries will have better understanding of the unique circumstances of the applicants in that country to be able to make a decision. So that is a problem that could be taken care of by having this processing localized. But at the same time, also, we must also be conscious of the bigger problem. And that is why I keep referring to the IRCC report. Because even if you bring the processing to the local countries, and we still continue to have those problems that were highlighted in that anti-racism report, resources will not solve those problems. Issues of bias and discrimination are embedded, they are systemic based on that report. So that is why it is very important. We are recommending that the minister take steps to address those fundamental issues raised in those reports, in addition to the one you have highlighted, which is, of course, resources.
Rapidement, merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Quickly, so this means that you would be in favor, for example, of the creation of an ombudsman position for immigration in Canada. That way, people will be more protected.
Absolutely. I 100% agree on the creation of an independent ombudsman to oversee activities of IRCC.
Merci, Monsieur Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Christian.
Thank you. We will now proceed to Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I thank the witnesses for their presentations as well. I'm first going to go to Mr. Christian. I think that it is very striking, especially when you highlight the differential treatment for SDS countries, where the requirement is $10,000 in terms of bond, and then with a Nigerian stream that the government had introduced, the requirement is a $30,000 requirement, 3 times the requirement than that of the SDS country. Do you have any idea of why there would be such a differential treatment in terms of the dollar amount being applied?
Thank you, MP Kwan. I have no idea. I did an access to information request to IRCC, trying to get information with regards to the Nigerian Student Express program. I got the document release disclosure from IRCC. I went through every page of those documents to try to find the justification. I found none.
Thank you. Do you mind submitting those documents to the clerk so that all committee members could receive it as well?
Absolutely, I will do that.
Now, in your presentation, you were just about to talk about the artificial intelligence system, the Chinook system. If that, based on the Polera report, the report that you cited, where there are issues of discrimination and bias and stereotype attitudes amongst IRCC officials, if IRCC officials then go to produce these artificial intelligence systems, what are your concerns?
Thank you very much, MP Kwan. Let me quickly state that in addition to being the president of African Scholars Initiative, ASI Canada, I'm also an assistant professor in the Faculty of Law at the University of Calgary. And my research or my field of specialization is on artificial intelligence and law. So this is one area I have a professional expertise in. I have research on implication of race and artificial intelligence. That's my major focus of my research. Now, one thing about artificial intelligence is this. Artificial intelligence technology is trained with data. And the problem, there is a computer term, garbage in, garbage out. When you use the racist data to train an artificial intelligence technology, what that technology simply does is to regurgitate that racism or that discrimination. And that is the concern I'm having with regards to the use of that technology by IRCC. Data and statistics, of course, the report has shown, one, the low approval rate for African countries. the racism and discrimination evident from human review of this application. If we train an artificial intelligence technology using this data, what we're going to have is a regurgitation of that same problem, this time not by humans, but by technology. IRCC has not even made things easy because the entire use of technology, Chinook and artificial intelligence, it's embedded in secrecy and black box. I have done access to information requests for these documents, and there has been pushback. The last response I got was to give another 160 days extension. I don't even have access to this to be able to tell you, oh, MP Kwan, this technology is amazing, or this technology is discriminatory. I can't do that because I don't have access to those data. So it might also help if members of the committee, of course, you probably have more access to those data than I do and those technology that I do, to take a look at it and then maybe probably come to a conclusion. But what I'm saying is this: there is very serious risk in use of those technology by IRCC now because of the problem with regards to this dismal approval rate and of course the black box technology behind those technology.
Perhaps we could get your request for information, questions from you, and then for the chair to submit that to the officials so that we can get the response for this committee, because I think that information would be critical for the purpose of this study. And related to this issue, in the previous panel, we also had witnesses who raised concerns around IRCC's the findings of the Polari report and what the implications are for artificial intelligence systems. They were proposing that, one, that the government halt the use of Chinook at this time, and B, that there be an independent assessment of the artificial intelligence system. Would you support those suggestions, and do you have additional suggestions to add?
Based on our dealing with IRCC so far and general information relating to IRCC, MP Kwan, I'll be in support of any third-party oversight of activities by IRCC. And this is where we have a problem because there has not been that third-party oversight. That is why this problem keeps getting worse and worse. Federal courts, yes, is there to oversee, decision if and only if members bring a judicial review application. But we have seen cases of study permit refusal where members have gone to federal court, succeeded in overturning the decision. The federal court sent the decision back to the visa office. The visa officers will refuse the application again on the same reason or some other bogus reason. And federal court doesn't even have the capacity, very limited capacity, to be able to make a kind of, directed verdict, which they have been very reluctant to use, of course, because of the principle of separation of power, judiciary and executive. So if there is a third party, independent third party to ombudsman to oversee activities of IRCC, whether it is the use of Chinook, I think that would be a very good way to IRCC is facing now. As long as that independent oversight is not there, we will continue to have this problem because it is the same people who are making this error that continue to make the error, that continue to make the mistake without even any attempt to get out of it.
Thank you.
For interrupting, time is up. I've been able to check with the services and we can extend the meeting a little bit. So we will have like a shortened second round before we proceed to the second panel. We will have 2 minutes each for Mr. Hallen and Ms. Kayabaga, and then 1 minute each for Mr. Brunel Desep and Ms. Kwan. So we will now proceed to Mr. Hallen for 2 minutes. So Mr. Hallen, you can please proceed. You will have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to both to His Excellency and Dr. Christian. Dr. Christian, thank you so much for everything you've been contributing, and Your Excellency as well. We've been having the same concerns, Dr. Christian, and a lot of the same frustrations where, as you had mentioned, that you've been reaching out to the Minister's office and there's been no replies. This has been a very frustrating process, especially to address such a serious concern of racism. Can you please elaborate a little bit more on what steps you've taken to address these issues and what kind of responses that you've been getting?
We've taken many steps. In November last year, a group of Nigerian professors, or a group of Canadian professors of Nigerian descent wrote a letter to the minister. That letter is part of the exhibit I submitted to this committee. That was shortly after the IRCC report was released. we drew the attention of the minister to this report and urged the office of the minister to take steps to address this concern, especially as it relates to Nigeria and the references made in those reports, specific references made in those reports to Nigeria. We got a response, of course, after many months from the minister's office. The response we got was denial, denial, denial. Even things that were very clear from the report itself were denied in that later.
So
which
these are not allegations, these are facts.
We are not making allegations. We are more like reinstating the facts on this report, as well as facts from other access to information report we got, like the Nigerian Student Express, the requirements that the applicants have to write English language examination, even though the primary language of instruction in Nigeria is English language. So we raised this concern. Of course, there has never been any serious response to the concern other than denial, which actually prompted our letter to the committee on this matter too.
Thank you. Time is up. We will now proceed to Ms. Kayabaga for 2 minutes. Ms. Kayabaga, you can please proceed.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just want to thank both of our witnesses for being here today and for taking the time to indulge us in this discussion in our study. I want to ask this question to Dr. Christian. Thank you so much for your information and expertise. And just also want to clarify that you're speaking on the RCC report specifically to the discriminations that and the disapproval rates that African students receive. So you did talk about the artificial intelligence. One, what kind of oversight are you or would you suggest would be best to make sure that if as we have the two reports from RCC that have found discriminations and racism, what would you suggest would be the best oversight to this system, the Chinook system, both in the artificial intelligence system, to actually get to accomplish to remove the discriminations and racism against African students?
Thank you very much, a member, for the question. My ability to answer this question will be very limited because I have zero idea about the artificial intelligence technology IRCC is using, so I may not be able to provide specific answer to that question. But in every case where use of artificial intelligence technology is involved, it's often important to have an independent body of experts who oversees the technology, the algorithm. That body should be independent from the user or the organization using the system, the artificial intelligence system itself. So if we can have an independent body of experts who oversees the design of this technology, the development of the algorithm to ensure that this racism or the data used in training this technology does not feed bias, discrimination, and racism on the algorithm, that would be very important. And let me quickly go to the Chinook case, which is a very good example. Okay, I see that my time is up from the MPs.
I appreciate your answer, I really do.
Thank you. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Decep for 1 minute. Mr. Brunel Decep.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank the witnesses for being here. It will be my last time to take the floor. You've been very eloquent and you've talked according to your expertise. I'd like to come back to you, Mr. Christian, because in the last series of questions I asked, you said that you do support the creation of an ombudsman position for IRCC. How could this improve things for you and according to you?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm concerned already about the discrimination, the bias and discrimination against African students when it comes to study visa application. My major concern is having those bias fed into technology. That is very serious because as humans, we tend to have this concern that, once technology makes a decision, that decision is bias-free. It is not. When you use a biased technology data to train technology, it regurgitates those bias. So my concern now is that already there is reports showing bias. Let's make sure we don't transfer that bias to the AI technology IRCC is subsequently or eventually going to be using.
Thank you, Dr. Christian. We will now end our round of questioning with a minute with Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you can please go ahead. You have 1 minute for your questioning.
Thank you. My question is to Dr. Christian, and thank you so much for your expertise on this. No question, there needs to be independent assessment, both for any artificial intelligence systems and then also an ombudsperson to review IRCC matters. So two separate issues. With respect to applications, the government also has this thing called dual intent. Are you familiar with that, and what are your thoughts on it and what needs to be done?
I am very familiar with dual intent. I'm a lawyer, and part of my practice, of course, include immigration law. So dual intent means that if somebody is coming to Canada to study, they also have the intent to become permanent resident after that. That is perfect and fine under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. But I warn study permit applicants from Africa. Do not ever bring the issue of dual intent in your application. If you do, it's going to come back to haunt you. With regards to dual intent, the problem we are having is that dual intent is being misinterpreted by IRCC decision makers. And that is what is sad about it, because the law allows for it, but if you express that intent, you are likely going to be refused study visa to Canada. So all I tell them.
Sorry for interrupting, time is up. And with this, I would like to thank both our witnesses, Dr. Christian and the High Commissioner for the People's Republic of Bangladesh, for appearing before this committee and providing us your important input. With this panel comes to an end, and I will suspend the meeting for 2 minutes so that the sound checks can be done for the second panel. Ms. Kwan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before our witnesses leaves this panel, I would like to invite them to submit additional documentations that they think would be relevant and useful for the committee members' consideration. Because time was limited and you did not sort of get to give the full answers that perhaps you might wish to, if you have any supplementary items to add to the questions that were put to you, please submit it to the clerk so that we can receive that in full.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Please direct the questions through the chair. Yes, for both the witnesses, if there is something you would like to bring it to committee's notice, please send your submission to the clerk of the committee, and that will be distributed to all the members, and we will take that into consideration as we continue this important study. So with that, thanks once again to both our witnesses, and I will suspend the meeting for 2 minutes and let the clerk do the sound checks for the second panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Meeting to order. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our witnesses as we continue our study on the recruitment and acceptance rates of foreign students. In this panel, I would like to welcome Martin Basiri, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder for Apply Board. Also, we have Madame Leah North, Senior Director, Workforce Strategies and Inclusive Growth, representing Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And we are the third witness for this panel is Madame Denise Amiot, President and Chief Executive Officer. And also we have been joined by Andrew Champagne, Manager Mobility Programs. Both are representing colleges and institutes Canada. I would like to welcome all of you and thank you for appearing before this committee. I would like to make few comments for the benefit of the witnesses. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. When you are ready to speak, you can click on the microphone icon to activate your mic. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. Interpretation in this video conference will work very much like in a regular committee meeting. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you're not speaking, your mic should be on the mute. And all the witnesses will be given 5 minutes for their opening remarks, and then we will proceed to the round of questioning. And for the benefit of all the witnesses and the members, I will give like a 1 minute warning, 30-second warning, and a red card to show that your time is up. So please keep an eye. With that, we will begin with Chief Officer and co-founder for Apply Canada. You have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Mr. Basiri, you can please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all members of the committee for engaging on this important topic. My name is Martin Basiri. I came to Canada as an international student from Iran to study at University of Waterloo for my master's in engineering. 6 years ago, I co-founded one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world with my brothers, who are also international students and came here with me with a mission to educate the world. Apply Board is the largest platform for international students to discover and apply to educational institutions. Thanks to IRCC, my brothers and I received our permanent residency through Canada's Startup Visa program, and we're able to stay here in Canada and grow our company and now include team members over 30 countries with 1,000 here in Canada. I will forever grateful for the opportunity that Canadian education system has given me as an international student, and I wish for future leaders of Canada to be follow the same pathway. We have insight from helping over 300,000 applications to Canadian institutions from 125 countries in the world, as well as I studied the last 6 years of study permit applications for this committee and will be happy to answer any of your questions after my recommendations. 1, dual intent. Our institutions, immigration system, and government all promote postgraduate work permit pathway to stay and work in Canada legally after graduation. We motivate the world's best students to choose Canada over other countries because of our leading institution and career opportunities after graduation. Then, at the time of application, we want them to tell us that they won't stay in Canada and will return to their home country. Why are we doing this? Why are we discouraging applicants for being transparent and truthful about their intention for coming to Canada, when in fact, we want them to stay? Madam Chair, you and this committee can create the political will to change this once for all and transform Canada's talent attraction pathway to enable a better future for all Canadians. 2, we must evaluate students on their potential and value to Canadian institutions and communities, not their ties to their home country. Asking students to show ties to their home countries and families, businesses is a huge disadvantage to so many of the top students. Think about the top students in a West African country that happen to be an orphan. They are having no chance of showing family ties. That's not who Canadians are. That's not who we are. and that needs to stop. 3, IRCC is evaluating potential students from over 200 countries, and fraud is one of the major challenges they have. They can't solve this alone. They need to shed light on the importance of eliminating fraud and push all the stakeholders, especially universities, colleges, and test providers, to help in ending fraud altogether forever. 4, in this hearing, you've heard from the other witnesses testifying to different problems IRCC having with time, processing, transparency, and everything else. That being said, I have to say IRCC has accomplished a lot during the pandemic. They have made policies in weeks that normally take years in a very, very fast changing pandemic environment. Data suggest that there are a persistent correlation between a study permit acceptance rate and a student's country of origin, a school attending, age, and number of other factors. To build efficiency, there is not a better approach than IRCC to create an AI-driven dynamic visa application system with dynamic requirement based on Canada's need, academic credential of the application, intended institutions, and other factors. This is not only increasing transparency of the system, but it also ends confusion and all the stuff that is right now missing. Sector stakeholders want to be part of the solution and have the expertise to help. So please continue to ask. We are willing to help to build a better future for all Canadians. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for having me here.
You are on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Basiri. We will now proceed to Ms. Nord, representing Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Nord, you will have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. You can please proceed.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, and fellow speakers here. I'm speaking to you today from Ottawa, the traditional territory, unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I go by the pronouns she, her, and elle. And today I am wearing a white turtleneck, a brown blazer, brown glasses, and I am still remotely working from home in my office. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, which is the voice of Canadian business. We represent 200,000 businesses across the country, across sectors and across sizes, including our network of 450 local chambers and boards of trade from coast to coast to coast. Immigrants play an important role in the inclusive growth and diversity of the Canadian workforce and communities. The Canadian Chamber has a series of recommendations that promote innovative and effective policies and programming to support new Canadians with labor market and community integration. This includes international students. Before going into detail on these recommendations, I will take a step back and up to underscore the current labor shortage crisis. We have an unprecedented, and I dare say unfathomable, 1 million job vacancies in Canada. Vacancies in healthcare, construction, manufacturing, accommodation, and food services, along with retail trade, are currently leading the way. Yet we have shortages across sectors, across community and regions, affecting every size of business. Businesses, including small businesses, are citing labor shortages as one of their, if not their most significant barrier to economic growth. As the Canadian Chamber indicated in a release last week, this problem is not new and it's structural in nature. In early 2020, before the pandemic, we were speaking of record job vacancies and record low unemployment rates. 2 years later, I'm saying the same thing to you here today. Addressing the structural issues and building sustained, inclusive talent pipelines will be key to our economic recovery and growth, and international students have an important role to play. They are qualified, credentialed, acclimatized, and many, more than half of them, are wanting to stay. My fellow witness, Ms. Amiotte, will likely cite that every Canadian is within 50 kilometers of one of her member colleges, SAGEFs, or polytechnic institutes. I would add here that at each of these are international students, including at our small, rural, remote, and underserviced community. And although this does not guarantee anything per se, it does give these communities a proverbial fighting chance. At the Canadian Chamber's 2021 AGM, a policy resolution was passed specific to international students that made the following recommendations to the federal government. First, allow international students attending institutions that are designated on the DLI list, the designated institution list, to A, qualify for Canada summer jobs and student work placement programs. B, participate in voluntary co-op terms and internships without obtaining a separate work permit. And C, count all time spent in Canada as international students towards citizenship eligibility. 2, permanently remove the sectoral industry restrictions for the temporary pandemic-related measure that allows international students to work more than 20 hours a week off campus. 3, make permanent the temporary pandemic-related measure to count studies towards hours needed to be eligible for postgraduate work permits. And 4, allow part-time studies to count towards the postgraduate work permit eligibility. The Canadian Chamber has also long supported pathways to permanent residency for temporary permit holders and welcomed the Government of Canada's 2021 Temporary Public Policies, Temporary Resident to Permanent Resident Pathway Initiative that included 40,000 international students. We strongly encourage the Government of Canada to build on this with a few caveats and additions. Firstly, that these pathways serve to complement existing immigration programs and streams, creating an and/or approach and not an either/or dichotomy. Secondly, that consideration be given to providing international students on their pathways to permanent residency access to employment and settlement services that are currently only available to those with PR, permanent residency status. And C, provide funding for capacity building and concierge type services to businesses, particularly SMEs, to recruit and onboard international students. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Nord, and we will now proceed to our third witness. We will hear from Colleges and Institute Canada, being represented by Ms. Emott and Mr. Champagne. Ms. Emott, you will have 5 minutes, and I think you will be sharing your time with Mr. Champagne. You can please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, I'm here on behalf of our 140 member institutions, colleges, CEGEPs, institutes, and polytechnics. For 50 years, Colleges and Institutes Canada has championed education, training, and innovation on a global scale. Canada's college systems are demand-driven systems. This means programs are designed in consultations with industry to ensure that students gain in-demand skills that respond to current and emerging labor market needs. Avec 95% de la population.
With 95% of the Canadian population living 50 kilometers from a college or an institute, our members play a key role for international education and immigration, to the benefit of all communities of Canada, including those in rural and Francophone minority settings. Increasingly, we hear stories of qualified students waiting for several months for a decision on their study permits to eventually have them refused, oftentimes for opaque and unfounded reasons. This is particularly true for CEGEPs and Francophone establishments outside of Quebec, whose main source markets are in Francophone Africa.
For reasons related to dual intent or particularly difficult to explain. On one hand, the Canadian government acknowledges and promotes study as a desirable pathway towards permanent residency, but refuses applicants who openly express their desire to stay. Many students who have previously completed a university degree in their home country are also being refused for reasons related to what an officer might describe as a questionable education pathway, even though here at home, Canadian university graduates are increasingly turning to colleges and institutes to help them upskill and transition to the labor market. Another common reason for refusal relates to a student's inability to demonstrate financial sufficiency. Banking systems in certain countries are not as well developed and students rely more heavily on family networks in ways that may seem atypical from a Canadian cultural lens. Depuis plusieurs années, Collège et Institut Canada préconise une...
For several years, Colleges and Institutes Canada has been promoting a practical approach to try to solve these problems working in collaboration with IRCC. Innovative collaborations between our associations and visa officers in the field have allowed to establish a portal for designated teaching institutions, the adoption of a guaranteed income certificate to show financial self-sufficiency, and the introduction of a direct stream for study. A pilot program with the visa office from Dakar showed that information exchange between establishments, designated teaching establishments and visa officers can improve transparency and mutual understanding and increase approval rates. We want to continue to collaborate with IRCC to find other innovative solutions in order to simplify the request processes and help to recruit students that are the best adapted to the needs of our labor market. IRCC should foresee, for example, to create study permits according to demand, which would give priority to the candidates having a job offer, a conditional job offer, linked to their diploma. This would encourage links between our members and local employers, would increase the amount of students in rural and isolated regions where worker shortages are worse.
To the study permit applications process are needed, such as an expansion of the study direct stream to more Francophone countries, increased transparency and better two-way information sharing, greater connections between DLIs and employers, a review of policies and definitions related to the International Student Program, and approved and stable approval rates. Those measures are needed for our member institutions to remain competitive and for Canada to be a destination of choice. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Ms. Emmett. We will now proceed to our round of questioning, and we will start our first round with Mr. Ridikop. Mr. Ridikop, you have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please proceed.
Thank you, and thank you to all the witnesses for your testimony here today. It's been very enlightening. I'm going to start with Mr. Basiri. I come from Saskatoon. We're a smaller city in Canada, although we have a very world-class university and a great polytechnic school as well. And so international students are very important to us. In your experience, do international students go to the smaller centers like Saskatoon as much, or what are some of the reasons why they might or might not do that in your experience?
Great question. The way international students recruitment majorly work, a lot of it is based on the way that the universities and colleges and to some extent some of the district boards do advertisement and do their positioning it. We've seen like not only like a city like the size of Saskatoon, like we see like, for example, some universities like Algoma University in a very, very smaller area in Northern Ontario being very successful by positioning it correctly. So it's all about how to positioning it. There are a lot of opportunities, and work remote, especially in the STEM fields, is a new norm of the world. So there are a lot of people who would love to go from big cities and go to and have big homes in areas that real estate is not as expensive. So I don't think there is a place in Canada that doesn't have opportunity to take a lot of international students. All it takes is a right sales and marketing and positioning our good institutions, because you know, some of our even least popular schools here are much better than some of the best schools in overseas. So there's always a very good demand for higher education.
And of course, the ones in Saskatoon are the best in Canada, I just have to say. And following along with that, the student direct stream is something that we heard about in the previous panel from the High Commissioner of Bangladesh. In your experience, has the student direct stream helped students from certain countries to get to Canada? And is this something that should be expanded into other countries like Bangladesh?
So SDS was the first step to create a more transparent and asking the IRCC asking what they want from the students. Absolutely, I think we should have a global SDS, but I would also design it per that country and the universities or college that the students are coming. For example, we know even countries that have very low visa rate, if your acceptance from University of Waterloo or Toronto, you have a very high chance of visa. So we just have to make it more dynamic and something that serve our needs. But without any doubt, I am very, very in favor of that. You could see that also IRCC done that in express entry when people want to get their permanent residency to make the point system. That was very clever move and made Canada one of the best immigration for skilled workers. I'm 100% confident that making a very good SDS can create a lot of transparency and also making it very good for universities and colleges to position themselves globally.
Thanks. Ms. Amiot, the same question. What are your thoughts on the student direct stream and what could be changed, what could be improved, and what you would say to someone like the High Commissioner of Bangladesh who really wants to get his country into that stream?
I agree with you that SDS is essential. In fact, we put in place the first concept before they were called SDS. We did a pilot projects with IRCC. At the time, it was called the Student something program. I forgot the other word right now in English. And what is interesting is that after we saw more and more countries becoming SDS, if you want, or have an SDS process. What I would say, though, I think it's important that whenever IRCC want to add new countries to the SDS, that they talk with us. Because for us, what is important is diversifications of countries. It's extremely, extremely important, no matter which member we talk to, whether Saskatchewan Polytechnic or other colleges or CEGEPs across the country, this is always what we hear. And so for the SDS process, please, no surprise of having suddenly, 5 new countries, but without us having discussed them before.
Thank you. Mr. Basiri, you mentioned the artificial intelligence, and we've heard from different witnesses some concerns with that and the different keywords that are used and things like that. Could you expand a little bit more on that? And is there opportunity for artificial intelligence and decision-making to actually hurt the system and to penalize and to introduce racism, things like that? What have you seen that way?
What I read online about the case, we don't have that much of information what it came about the Chinook system. It seems like it's an Excel file, and I don't think it's a real AI. AI can be extremely useful. I think something for a student visa, it must be on a very good AI. It can be transparent. So I don't see any harm. It's of course it's a computer, so you need to program it correctly. But it's if the transparency is the intention, it can be done very well. We are doing it on every subject in healthcare, everything, and it works across the world. So I don't think why it shouldn't work here.
Thank you. We will now proceed to Mr. Al-Khouri. Mr. Al-Khouri, you will have 6 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please proceed.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses. My first question is for Mr. Basiri. Mr. Basiri, according to your experience, and I believe that you're a fantastic example of this, what is the role of institutions to detect and prevent all kinds of fraud? How can we face fraud in order to improve and increase the approval rate of applications for international students?
Thank you so much for asking this question. so there are like like the relationship between the students and the universities, and from the universities, students, and IRCC, it's like a triangle, and all of the material should be like somehow shared between them. So the students, what they share with the university is also the same story that they're sharing for visa, and vice versa. When the universities share a document with the students, it should be verifiable for the IRCC. Right now, we could see that things like letter of acceptance, the receipt for tuition fee payments, all of these are being frauded in different markets. Universities can stop this literally immediately, universities and colleges. I think what is happening in the market is universities say, oh, it's not our problem, it's IRCC problem, and IRCC like have probably like so many other things on their shoulder that they have to address, and this might not be the thing. I think something like that can be just like a push from IRCC, literally just like a tweet that said, by 2024, we 100% eliminate. So the whole industry then go after eliminating the fraud. Like there are so many products out there that can serve this, but universities normally have lack of will because they're like, yeah, it's not our problem. It's IRCC problem, and if they don't do anything about it, why should we do anything about it? I think not every single problem have to be solved by IRCC. Sometimes they have to come out and just say the vision, so the whole industry going after that.
My second question is to Ms. Amiot and Ms. Noor, for both. What role, can you speak to factor that may lead applicants to provide fraudulent documents, and how can we address this issue? Do institutions have responsibility to ensure that they work with consultants, that they are not facilitating fraud in this student permit application process? Can you elaborate on that, both of you, please?
Thank you for your questions. In fact, we did a pilot project in Dakar. And the key to ensure that there's no fraudulent behavior is to ensure that there's a constant communications between both the IRCC as well as with the institutions. And the pilot was live, if you want, real time. And this allowed to ensure that there was no fraudulent act that were identified. And it was quite successful, but it was a pilot. And that's the problem. We need to ensure that there are more mechanisms by which the sharing of information is important, as well as transparency. Because this is very, very key. And we have seen in the past that when we can work together, hand in hand, in fact, not only do we not have fraudulent activities, but the level of approval for students is greater, which is one of the issues that we have right now in the system. And if we look at the Chinook, that's another problem. And we could talk about it after.
Does the International Chamber of Commerce play a role when students arrive here? Do you have a role? Do you assist these students when they arrive here? There's no role that you play? No? Could you speak to this?
There is no direct role. I think my comment in response to this is I'm not, intimately familiar with the Chinook system, but as to other comments that have been made, I do appreciate concerns with AI and AI bias, but we've got plenty of examples from the business community and even examples with immigration programs throughout the world that when the algorithm and the process is done right, it actually eliminates the bias. It does involve getting it right, but there are examples out there, and I would encourage that harnessing AI for good. Thank you.
Si on compare que le Canada offre
If we see that Canada offers international students compared with other countries, if we see what they offer, you mentioned that Canada during the pandemic played an important role. What do you think of the program and the way that the process is being managed?
Madam Chair, do I have time to respond?
No, time is up. We will have to proceed to our next member. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Desap for 6 minutes. Mr. Brunel Desap, you can please go ahead.
Merci infiniment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much to our witnesses here today for this important study, something that we hold dear. And I really appreciated your opening statements. For Mr. Basiri, you spoke about the double intention. Mrs. Amiot, you went even a little bit further, and you said that you suggested a type of program that could tie in the study permits with the labor market for after the diploma being obtained. So you say that it's absurd to see a student, a foreign student, to be refused a study permit with the pretext that maybe they won't go back to their home country. Is that what you're saying? Answer. That's right. We can't say on one hand that international students are our best immigrants because they studied in Canada, and secondly, because they have experience of working in Canada, and then when it's the time to accept them as students, they're told, oh no, you're not going to go back to your home country, or we're starting to have doubts, or they're not unmarried, so the chances of them going back to their home country are perhaps lower. It really doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. And we know that there's a worker shortage right now, a large worker shortage. Mrs. Nord mentioned this in all sectors, in all parts of Canada. And international students are part of the solution here. So we really do have to solve this problem because it's a pressing issue. Question. So you represent many post-secondary institutions throughout Quebec and Canada. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to hear what was said here last week. We heard a witness representing students, and he explained to us that outside of Quebec, he's explained that Francophone foreign students had been refused because they were told that their academic journey outside of Quebec in French was not valid. So did you jump out of your chair? Yes, absolutely. Answer, yes, absolutely. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for the same reason that when we have students with a diploma coming from a university, and they're international students, and they want to come and study in one of our colleges or one of our CIGEPs, and they're told, oh, well, no, that's really suspicious. You went to university. Now are you going to go to a college? We know that our own Canadians do this sometimes, and increasingly to make sure that what they're studying is linked to the needs of the labor market. Question. Yes, but is Quebec being punished because there's an educational system that's different? I understand that you're representing institutions throughout Canada, but maybe this is a way where Quebec would be, well, because of the CIGEP system. Is this true? Answer. No, there's no discrimination because of the system that's different. Don't forget that at the CIGEP level, we have a pre-university stream, but there's also the professional and technical stream, and international students coming to study in Quebec oftentimes go for professional and technical training. And I would like to give you an example. In Matane, for example, if we didn't have international students, they represent about 50% of the student clientele. The programs could not be offered to students from Matane themselves that are born in Matane and have been there for generations. So there's from region to region, yes, it's quite widespread. And thank you, Mrs. Amiot. I hope I'll have a chance to ask you more questions. Mr. Basiri, you seem to be a tech expert. I was listening to you speak earlier. And when you're talking about Chinook, is it possible that there was a link for Francophone African students, that there was an issue before and that Chinook just crystallized this inequality that already existed?
So I studied the last 6 years of visa, and between 2016 to 2018 and 2019 to 2021. So what it shows that Francophone Africa visa rate came from 29.5% to 26.6% during this time after the IRCC adopted. Rest of Africa came from 26% to 25%. Francophone countries during the last 3 years compared to 3 years prior, grown 64% with total number of applicants. Rest of Africa only grown 32%. Both of them are better than when you look at the total world data. So I'm a technologist, not a politician. The data doesn't suggest any discrimination against Francophone Africa versus other African countries. In fact, if you want to find the odd countries, you should look at Middle East, that their visa rate really came down and their growth is really lagging, even though the Middle East countries their wealth and GDP growth is going up. I didn't find any particular data about Francophone versus rest of Africa that can say is discriminated. That being said, 26% of visa rate is very bad.
But we did see some countries such as Cameroon and Senegal, they saw their refusal rate reach 88%. So I'm not sure, maybe we don't have the same figures here, but I have the impression that if, for example, in Iran, your refusal rate is 48% compared to Senegal, 88%. Between us, I see a huge difference.
Your time. I'll proceed to Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you will have 6 minutes. You can please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to all the witnesses. I wonder whether or not the data, just based on that last question's answer, the comparison ought to be not so much about African Francophone students with other African student applications, but to other countries. And I think that's where you see the discrepancies. I'm going to leave that for a minute because we explored that quite a lot with the other witnesses. I want to actually go to Ms. Amiot for a minute. One of the issues that was brought up from previous witnesses is this. The Canadian government during the COVID period allowed for international students to start their study even though they could not be physically here in Canada. Now, of course, many of the students, or some of the students, I should say, ended up not actually getting their visa permit to come and study, but they could not get a refund. They cannot continue their studies, and then they've already been out of pocket. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, and should the students actually be out of pocket or should they be refunded their tuition?
I'm not familiar with those specific cases. What I can tell you is that, and I will ask my colleague to add to what I will say, is that IRCC really worked hard to ensure that all the students that were making a request to have a student visa could have it in a timely fashion, but we know it's not enough. Especially for those coming. But Andrew, do you want to address specifically the questions of Mrs. Kwan?
Yes, my specific question is that the students who paid and followed the instructions from IRCC started their studies and then later on their visa was rejected and then could not get a refund. Would the institutes be in support of the students being refunded their tuition in those circumstances?
I mean, I think over the course of the pandemic, there have been a lot of accommodations with to the application process and mission process for the institutions, and there were great efforts to align some of the timelines. I mean, there are periods typically where international students and all students can receive a full refund on their program, and in some cases, there were absolutely challenges where students were waiting a very long time to receive the second stage of their visa application process. And in some cases, they had already completed a full program academically, from an academic perspective, had received that credential. So this certainly was an issue. Students were able to complete a good part of those programs online, in some cases entirely. And we worked with IRCC to try and push as much as we could on faster processing times and approvals on those applications.
Thank you. I don't think you answered the question though. Pushing IRCC moving forward and whether or not students actually make a difference. And I think that's a major issue. I wonder if Mr. Basari, if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, there are some schools that didn't refund the students, and their claim was like, you came for education, not for coming to Canada, and they did not refund. That being said, there are so many schools that they were accommodating, as Mr. Champagne talked about it, and they did refund. We see that there is not really like black and white among all the schools, and I think that's something that schools, they themselves have to like have some overseeing. There are like cases that you've seen like recently in Quebec that 2,000 students literally even got their visas. They came here, and then there's no school, so their money is gone. It's a very problem, and we are concerned, especially with private to public agreements that is happening, and public universities working with private. There are so many students can be hurt. We raise our concern a lot with this. All try to like stand on behalf of our students to get the best. Majority of schools are doing an amazing job. They're really working from their heart, but you could see like cases that the schools are not accommodating.
Thank you very much. I hear that a lot actually from Vancouver East with students who actually end up being out of pocket, and it's a huge hit because it's a huge cost. And then at the end, they did not end up actually getting their the degree or the course that they wanted to complete. I want to actually turn to the issue around dual intent for a minute, because the contradiction of that is significant. On the one hand, IRCC is saying to people there's dual intent, and then on the other hand, they're saying we're going to reject your application because we think you want to stay. So what is your recommendation for the government to address this dual intent contradiction? Ms. Amiot?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Kwan. In fact, we should just drop it. It just doesn't make sense. On one hand, you spend money to market Canada as the country to come to study and to immigrate, and on the other hand, you refuse them if it's not obvious that they will go back. We should just drop it. Our members have expressed frustration with recurring incidents like that, and it's confusing. And we are a country that have good reputations for its education, and unfortunately, this is not helping us to be competitive with other markets.
Thank you. We will now proceed to our second round. We will have 4 minutes each for Mr. Helen and Mr. Ali, and then 2 minutes each for Mr. Brunel Desap and Ms. Kwan. So we will start with Mr. Helen. Mr. Helen, you have 4 minutes. You can please proceed.
Madam Chair, Mr. Seaback will take my time.
Okay, Mr. Seaback.
Thank you very much. One of the things that we heard in our last committee hearing on Tuesday with respect to the underperforming approval numbers in various offices is that a blind review in order to determine why the rejection rates are so high would be important. And I'm wondering if any of our panelists today would agree with that call to action, because I think it's a significant call to action and one that the government should take very seriously. I'm opening up that to everyone on the panel today. Please let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I can. Sorry. Dennis, please.
Okay, so any process, it's important to do some audits to look at how it's going and to do it, in different parts of the world, just to assess the process. Is there discriminations or there bias, whether you use artificial intelligence or not? One of the things, I'll share a story with you very quickly. At one point, we have postgrad certificates that were very popular in our country for international students. And at one point, we began to saw the numbers going down, refusal. We went to meet the agents in China, and we asked them why. And they were saying, but why would someone that went to a university now go to a college? And we explained what was the postgrad certificate. In fact, Stats Canada just issued a report a couple of months ago on how popular it is both with Canadian and international students, and it's increasing. But they just did not know. And what had happened, there was a change of staff during the summer. So the new group had not been appraised of this program that was so popular for international students. So for me, what I get from that, it's very important to share information as much as possible to establish good linkages between the post-secondary institutions and our RCC to identify any of those irritants or things that don't make sense.
Thank you. Mr. Basiri?
Yes, as also it was mentioned, that the entire, for example, Africa, the visa rate is only 25% on average. I think we need to know, we need to know why for questioning. We need to know what a student should do so the visa rate be closer to like 50, 60%, closer to like a rest of the world. It's crucial to have a transparency because then students can do a better job. Well, I have to say, not transparency, we are hurting our universities and colleges because they can't invest money, recruit people in Africa, travel to Africa, find the students, and then all of a sudden students doesn't get the visa. We are wasting our own money in majority of universities and colleges. We are losing taxpayers' money somewhere else just because of non-transparency. So without any doubt, especially for Africa, Middle East, I highly recommend to come and say, these are the additional things we want for these students, not for the matter of like checking and auditing, more a matter of like educational to the things. Like students, provide this, your visa chance go higher.
And know these numbers have been getting worse in Africa since 2015. Were you aware that these things have that the rejection rates have been going up significantly since 2015?
Sorry for interrupting, Mr. Sebag. Your time is up. We will now proceed to Mr. Ali. MP Ali, you will have 4 minutes for your round of questioning. You can please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to all witnesses. My question is to Mr. Basiri. Canada offers the sub-student direct stream in several countries. Its objective is faster processing time. It has financial requirements such as having paid the first year of tuition fee and having a GIC of $10,000 that will provide funds during the period of studies. How useful has this expedited stream been for students wanted to study in Canada? That's number one. And in addition, I have a couple more questions, and then you can answer at once. In your opinion, has it facilitated the entry of students from certain parts of the world over others? And third, does Australia have a similar dedicated immigration system for some, if not all, if it's international students? Can you elaborate that, please?
Whoever came with the idea of SDS was genius, and I thank for them. They definitely helped for those countries that SDS was implemented. That was a very good starting. We just need to like making it better for everywhere to have more dynamic SDS rather than just like a certain SDS. The only country that SDS heavily actually impacted negatively was Vietnam. And the reason was majority of students coming from Vietnam were coming to our ESL classes because they didn't have the IELTS 6 or 6.5. And after introducing SDS, the visa rate came from like 90% to like 40-something%. But beside Vietnam, everywhere else, I think it's a very good implementation to do. As Mrs. Amoy said, I think the training of the staff who is doing it is crucial to like tell them, and it's all come back from transparency. If the IRCC visa for the countries are transparent, of course, that not only everyone knows what they should upload, but also the staff can know how to assess the students without any doubt. So I'm highly in favor of making the system more transparent and more systematically better. Like, to be honest, like among all the problems that humanity have, this is not a very hard problem. Technology can solve it very easy. I'm not saying like it's an easy job, but like it's like human beings solve very larger problem. If there is a will, we can do it. Like, for example, the dual intent thing has been an issue for years. Like once for all, we have to like all shake hands and hug each other and said, let's once for all finish this. Like it just required the
Mr. Basiri, I'm running out of time. My next question is to Ms. Nord. The policy resolution adopted by the chamber suggests removal of any restriction on the number of hours international student can work off campus. Isn't there a concern that studies will suffer because of the student working too many hours?
Is that a concern for domestic students? Would be my response. Domestic students aren't restricted to hours off that they can work off campus. So I'm not sure why international students have that restriction upon them. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would argue in the bigger picture as well, it helps them network and acclimatize. It helps them financially support themselves as Canadian students do. So appreciating the concern, it would have to be for all students and not just international students. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, do I have time?
No, your time is up. We will now proceed to Mr. Brunel Desapp for 2 minutes. Mr. Brunel Desapp, you can please begin.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quickly, Mr. Basiri, do you deal with a lot of Francophone students or Francophone institutions?
Not that much, but almost with majority of the universities.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Basiri. I don't have a lot of time. So, Mrs. Amiot, I'm looking at the figures that we obtained: Algeria, Senegal, Cameroon. They're among the 6 countries with foreign students in Quebec, and they've seen inaudible. In other provinces, when we look at India and China, they represent a large part of the pool of foreign students. The refusal rate, 30% and 50%. So the institution, the Francophone institutions that you represent, they look at that and what are they telling themselves? It's discriminatory, they're stuck, they have to deal with this. The problem is that the pool is not as large for Francophone countries where people can choose students from. And oftentimes, countries where they can recruit students, Francophone students, are countries that might be countries with less money, where the students have less financial means. And so this whole issue of self-sufficiency becomes an issue, because people forget that they might not have $10,000 right away in their hands, but if you account the entire family, the parents, the aunts, the uncles, everyone is going to contribute for the studies of this foreign student, and this student will work. And oftentimes this is forgotten. Yes, but oftentimes they receive bursaries from Quebec. Quebec spends $15 million. It's more than all of Canada. Well, yes, they have bursaries, and we've seen a case 2 years ago where, unfortunately, the communication was bad with IRCC and the CJETs in Quebec to mention that these bursaries were available. Thank you so much. Thank you to all witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Brunel Desapp. We will now end our round of questioning with Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, you will have 2 minutes. You can please proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Ms. Nord this question. You mentioned in your presentation that we have a labor skill shortage in Canada. As it stands right now in Canada, there are about 500,000 people who are already here. Some of them have lost their status because of COVID, because they lost employment, and others have very dedicated work-specific work permit. They cannot therefore apply for employment elsewhere. Given that this reality, would you support the call for the government to regularize these individuals who are out of status, and then also to allow for those with work permits, specific work permits, to be able to apply for employment elsewhere and to receive lander status, so that we can actually fill this labor skill shortage gap?
Yeah, I think that the first comment I would make in answer to that question is, before the pandemic, back in January 2020, we had unprecedented labor vacancies. At that time, it was 500,000. Almost 500,000 vacancies. We used to say there were 600,000 international students here in the country, right? So there you go. You know, it's not unequivocated because of labor market integration, but we do have a population here that we would encourage integrating regardless of status, all statuses, but it's not an, again, it's not an either or. We shouldn't be looking only at those here, only from those abroad, only, you know, are underrepresented and unrepresented populations, domestic populations here. It's an all, it's a both and an all approach, but would be very much welcome to that, open to those, for those who are already here and are in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. The government actually, with the express entry stream, because they've introduced new measures, they're now in a situation where they are pausing or halting the express entry stream. So then when you mentioned this issue of not one or the other, but doing both, that's what I think the government needs to do. So I would agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kwan. With this, our panel comes to an end, and on behalf of all the members, I would like to thank all the three witnesses for appearing before the committee. Before we end, if there is something you would like to share with the committee and you were not able to discuss it because of the time, you can always send a written submission to the clerk of the committee, and that will be communicated to all the members as we continue this study. So thank you. To all the witnesses. Before we end, just two quick questions for the members of the committee I would like to ask. So in regards to the preparation for our next study of differential outcomes in IRCC, I would like to first ask for the committee for the approval of a budget of $4,025. Are all members agreed on this? Okay.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Also, is the committee in agreement with the witness submission deadline for the study of differential outcomes by Friday, February 18th? So if by February 18th, all the parties can submit the names of the witnesses to the clerk, that would be really great. The motion states that there will be fewer than 5 meetings on the topic. So just in regards to the party allocation, if we have 5 meetings on that motion and 1 meeting is with the minister and the official, there will be 4 meetings with the other witnesses, and based on the 3 witnesses per panel, the Liberals will have an allocation of 11 witnesses. Conservative Party will have 9, Bloc 2, and NDP 2. So are the members in agreement that the list of the witnesses can be submitted by Friday, February 18th? Okay, that's good. So the clerk will work once she receives the witnesses so that we can start scheduling for our next study. So with that, I thank all the witnesses once again. Sorry, the meeting went a little over time because there were some technical issues in our first panel. So hope everyone will have a great day. Thank you. And the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Merci. Au revoir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Merci. Bonne journée. Bye-bye.
Merci. Bonne journée.